Hey everyone, this is a review of our last lesson, and this week we're continuing to look at string gym. The homework is numbers 1 through 8. You remember that last week the homework was 1 through 6, so we are focusing on those 6 again, making sure that they are perfect, that we can do them accurately the way that they're asking us to play them, and then adding 2 new exercises on as well. I've also asked students to do some silly scales this week as they're practicing. Remember the D major scale with different rhythms. There is a video on that if you need a review, if you want to go back and watch that. But all of these string gym exercises are using open strings for now. We're focusing on bowing techniques, which are very important, but I don't want students to forget about their notes that they have to put fingers down for as well. So remember, string gym is a series of exercises. They are 8 measures each. So we're going to do numbers 1 through 8. The first 6, let me just kind of go through and talk about what makes each one unique. These are really well thought out exercises. They bring up a lot of different things. Some things are new, some things are review, but they really cover almost everything that a beginning string player should know on their instrument at this point. So let me just go through each of these real quick. So Etude 1, first of all, one of the things that was new to us was the whole note. Right, the note that is just a circle, no stem. That's a 4-beat note. And above it, it says P-I-Z-Z. That means pizzicato or plucking. So you're going to pluck each note and hold it for 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Most students picked that one up very quickly. That one was really well done last week, and we played it again in lessons this week as a review. Etude 2 now looks almost the same, except instead of it saying pizzicato, plucking, it says arco, A-R-C-O. That means use your bow. So now we're holding for nice long bows, 4 beats each one of those notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And making sure that we are staying on the correct string, right? That we're not wibbly-wobbly onto neighboring strings, that we can do a nice full bow on each open string. Etude 3, one big thing we talked about this week is that for this exercise, your bow does not leave the string. Later we see what is called a retake, and when you have a retake, your bow does leave the string, but they have specifically indicated on this one that they do not want your bow to leave the string. Part of that is they actually are teaching and pointing out bow directions. So there's a down bow symbol over the first note and an up bow symbol over the second whole note. So we start down bow on a D. Then you have a whole rest, which is a 4-beat rest, and it says to wait at the tip. It doesn't say this, but I suggested that you also rotate to your next string, to the A string, and then you would play a 4-beat up bow A. Wait at the frog, rotate to D. Right, so this is practice with down and up bows and doing that rotation. It is different depending on what instrument you play. Violin and viola, it's kind of lifting your arm, raising and lowering your arm. Cello and bass, it's more coming out, forward and backwards because of the angle that you're holding your instrument. And then number 4, quarter notes and half notes. So feeling the difference, the quarter notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the half are longer. Okay? Just feeling the difference as you're doing the bowing there. Remember that I have the string gym full ensemble videos because there are different parts for different instruments. Right now it's the teacher part and all of the student parts are identical for the first 8. So it doesn't matter what instrument you play. Actually, your part will match anyone. You could get together with a friend who plays a different instrument and your part will sound the same. Soon it will be different. Soon different instruments have different parts. But regardless, right now you can go on, and I have them in groups of 4. So Etude 1 through 4, those are together in one video. And as you're looking at the video, the top left is the teacher part. That's the part I play. Top right is violin, student violin. Bottom left is viola. Middle on the bottom is cello. And then bottom right is bass. So you can go through, listen to your part, but also see how it fits in with the other parts, and in this case, mostly how it fits in with the teacher part. We have been practicing that in class as well. Okay, number 5. This is where the retake comes in. Remember, a retake is silent. There's no sound associated with a retake, but it's where you just did a down bow and you'd like to do another down bow, so you have to pick your bow up and put it back down at the frog to do another down bow. So in this case, it would look like this. There's the retake. Now, we talked about in lessons that when you do a retake, it makes sense to put the bow back down on the string you're playing next. So in this case, I did a retake. My next note is open A. Put my bow down on the A string. That saves you a little time. It gets you in the right spot and ready to roll. Number 6 is showing the difference between playing a quarter note with a quarter rest after it versus a half note. Both of those things equal 2 beats when you add them together, but the quarter note with quarter rest, you're going to stop your bow, and the half notes you're going to play without stopping your bow. So we worked on that in class. The interesting thing about that, and something you might want to work with the ensemble YouTube video, is that the teacher part plays during the rest. Actually, no, not for that one, I'm sorry. Yes, in measure 7 for Etude 6, the teacher part plays on your rest. So at the beginning, we do it together, we rest at the same time, but then at measure 7, the teacher part keeps playing, and some students had a hard time with that. They wanted to follow the other part. So really owning it, knowing your part, and then also trying it with the other part so you can practice not playing when it's not your turn to play. So now the 2 new ones, Etude 7 and 8. If you take a look at Etude 7, the new thing in this is eighth notes. This should not be completely new to any student because, first of all, we have already covered eighth notes in our lesson book. That was actually the last lesson we did before we started String Gym. We will get back to the lesson book hopefully, but I wanted to make sure we took a few weeks to look at String Gym because it really reinforces skills that every string player should know, and I think it's a good thing to go through. The other thing that most students will recognize this from is their music class. And we talked about how in music class you might count this. We also have another way of counting it in like instrumental music, so in a band or orchestra setting. And then I have a silly way to count this that most students will remember that makes it a little easier to play. So if you were in music class, you would say ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Okay. We talked about when we did our eighth note lesson, the actual way to count this with numbers is 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 3. So anytime you have an eighth note, it's the number and then and after it. I like to count this strawberry, strawberry, shortcake. Kind of makes it easier to remember to put some words to it. Students tend to play it a little more accurately if they have something silly to think of or something, I guess, in this case, delicious to think of when they're playing it. But what we did in class and what we'll do right now is to go through Etude 7 and clap the rhythm. I'm going to say the real numbers just because I want you to hear what that would be, but feel free to count it any way you'd like. So here's we're going to clap the rhythm to number 7. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 3, 1, 2, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 3, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 3, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Sorry, I started thinking about that strawberry shortcake in the middle. Okay, so now when you play this, you have a variety of different bow speeds, right? The eighth notes are going to be the fastest, quarter notes still a little bit slower, but still pretty fast. Half notes holding for 2 beats, and then that whole note at the end holding for 4 beats. Okay, so let me play through this guy here, number 7. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and ready, and here we go. So Most students actually did a really nice job our first time through this because we have learned some of those eighth notes before and because they've worked on it hard in music class as well. And finally, Etude 8. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but this is almost entirely eighth notes on Etude 8, which is kind of cool. We talked about how you can just count this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I like to name each set of 4 notes watermelon. So if you look from the beginning, there's 4 sets of 4 Ds, so that would be 4 watermelons. It's easier to, in my head, and tends to be for students, to count watermelons instead of counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in. So we practiced before we did the whole thing, seeing if as a group, because this is tough stuff as a group, to see if we could play 4 watermelons all together and stop at the same time. So we're going to try that right now. You can do this with me at home. So it'll be watermelon, 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 and then stop. Okay, if you keep playing, it means that you might be playing the right rhythm, but it means you don't really know where you are if you just keep going and going and going. So we're trying to play 4 watermelons, all open D. Let's try it together. 1 and 2 and ready, and here we go. Okay, actually say it in your head. That tends to help. I had a lesson yesterday, and everyone was all over the place, and we were not ending at the same time. And then I said, just say it in your head as you're playing, and then everyone got it. Okay, I know it's silly, but it does help. So 4 watermelons on D. Let's try it. And by the way, you might have noticed I'm in the middle part of my bow. I'm not playing all the way down here, and I'm not playing all the way up here. Okay, so 4 watermelons on D. See if we can end together. Ready, and here we go. All right, so if you can do that, then you can do this whole thing. So you can see there's 4 D watermelons, then 4 A watermelons, then going down to the second line, 4 D watermelons, 2 G watermelons, and then the last measure is 1 D watermelon, and then a half note D. Okay, if someone walked in right now, they wouldn't think I was teaching music, but I am. Okay, so counting those watermelons, and we're going to try to do the whole thing right now. Okay, so 1 and 2 and ready, and here we go. Now A. Now D. Yeah, we're going to practice that one because I really like to do that one if we can with the whole group. It is hard to get 20 or 25 beginning string players to play eighth notes together, but we are going to aim to be able to do that together as a group. So those are the 2 new ones. Remember, we're doing numbers 1 through 8 this week and some silly scales. Don't forget about those. And we will continue in String Gym next time.